Hello students, I welcome all of you to the new session. Today we are going to start the fifth lesson, How does city look? Before starting the lesson, students, I want to make it sure whether you all have completed your notebook or not. And we have completed the 4 lessons. So all the 4 lessons should be completed in your notebook. Other subjects notes you are getting as the worksheet, but maths only the important points or the definitions, formulas, etc. only we are sending as the worksheet, and exercises we are sending through the videos only. So whatever you are getting through the video, you have to write it down in the notebook. Okay, today we will be starting our 5th lesson. How does it look? And today's session, what you are getting today, that you don't have to write in the video in the notebook, because I'm only explaining. The questions you will start solving from the next session. So today what you are getting, that only you have to write. All the previous exercises you have to be written in the notebook. Okay, start the lesson. See, on the screen you can see a beautiful butterfly, and along the middle of the butterfly you can see a dotted line also. See this line also, you can see a vertical line you can see. And if we divide this butterfly through this dotted line, we are going to get it two identical house. Identical means they are exactly looking like the same. Two identical house, right? That means along this line, we can divide this butterfly into two identical house. So the figure of this butterfly is said to be symmetrical. But that means what is symmetrical? A figure is said to be symmetrical if we can divide it into two exact halves, two identical parts along an imaginary line. Actually, there is no line. It is an imaginary line. Just we are supposing there is a line, right? And if we can divide it into two identical halves, is said to be symmetrical. Here we can divide this butterfly into two identical parts along this line. So this figure is symmetrical figure. And another method also we can use for checking whether the figure is symmetrical or not. For that we will fold this figure along this line. See, along this line we will fold it. If both the parts cover exactly each other, then it is said to be symmetrical. And third method, we will keep a mirror along this line. See, along this imaginary line, we will keep a mirror. And when we keep the mirror, we will not be able to see this right side, right? If I am keeping a mirror along this line, only you will be able to see the left side, see the movement of the pointer. The left side only you will be able to see, and right side you will not be able to see. Why? Because the mirror is kept in between. But inside the mirror, you can see the reflection of the right side. When you are keeping the left side in front of the mirror, you will be able to see the right side, right? That means you can see the mirror image in the mirror that will be exactly looking like the right side of the figure. Then also the figure is said to be symmetrical. So 3 methods I said for checking whether the given figure is symmetrical or not. First we will divide it through an imaginary line. It may be a vertical line or a horizontal line also it can be. So horizontal line will come this way, but this figure of the butterfly, we cannot divide into two exact halves through the horizontal line. But vertically we can divide it into two exact halves. So either we will divide the figure through the imaginary line, or we will be folding the figure into two through the imaginary line. And if both the parts are covering each other, then they are said to be symmetrical. Or if we keep a mirror along this line, if we can get the other side of the figure in the mirror, then also it is said to be symmetrical. Okay. Now I have taken some other figures also. These figures are not in textbook. This I have taken from outside. See, so first figure is the same butterfly only. Here also the line, very likely you can see the line here. The vertical line you can see, which divides the butterfly into two identical halves. Second figure is of a bag. And here also line is shown from the vertical axis, which divides the bug into two exact halves. So this figure also symmetrical figure. But you see the third figure, it is number 4. Number 4. And where is the axis of the symmetry? See, this line only shown, but it cannot be called the axis of the symmetry, because if we divide the figure along this line, we cannot divide it into two identical halves. See, if we divide the figure along this line, you can see a major portion below the line, a very small portion will be seen above the line, right? So that means both the parts are not identical. Here the horizontal line is given. Can you see it? If we divide the figure along this horizontal line, we cannot divide it into two identical halves. Both the parts are not the same. So this figure is not symmetrical along this line, right? Same way, next figure, the vertical line is given, but both the parts are not identical. See this side, left side, I think it is bigger, and the right side is smaller, and the pattern also different. So this figure also not symmetrical. Now the next figure is the figure of a triangle. Here you can see that through the vertical line, we can divide it into two exact halves, two identical halves. So this figure is also symmetrical. So out of these 5 figures, first figure, second figure, and the fifth figure are symmetrical figures, but the third figure and the fourth figure are not symmetrical. Okay, now I am going to show an example from the textbook. See, here you can see a pattern, and along the middle of the pattern a vertical line is shown. The dotted line is there. This dotted line divides the shape into two halves. But if you fold this figure along this dotted line, we are going to get a figure like this. See here, the pointer is moving along the figure. See, here they are not looking exactly each other because they are not covering up each other. You can see some projection outside here. See, same way here some part is seen outside, here some part is seen outside. That means both the parts are not identical. They are not covering each other, means the parts are not identical. That means this figure is not symmetrical. Or another way, if we keep a mirror here also, the mirror reflection will not be shown in the right side part. That means this figure is not symmetrical, right? Now some more example we will consider. Before that, you see what is given in textbook. The dotted line divides the shape into two halves, but if you fold it along the dotted line, the left half does not cover the right half completely. So the two halves are not mirror halves. They are not identical. They are not, the figure is not symmetrical. Okay. Now, next part. See, here some more shapes are given. First is the triangle. The line of symmetry is given, vertical line of symmetry is given, and this line divides the triangle into two exact halves, right? So these two parts are mirror halves. Mirror halves, they are identical. Why? Because this figure is symmetrical figure. That means in symmetrical figure, we will get to identical halves, or we can get it to mirror halves, right? Here also you can see through this line, we can divide the figure into two equal halves. That means this figure is also symmetrical. And now the figure of a star is given. Here also vertical line of symmetry is given, right? And through this line, we can divide it into two equal halves, or we can, when we fold both these parts, they will be covering exactly each other. Or if we keep a mirror here, the mirror image also will show the same reflection of the other part. That means these three figures, this triangle and this pattern and this star, and these three are symmetrical figures, right? So This is only what today I am going to explain. The summary what we have learned is shown here. See, a figure is said to be symmetrical when an imaginary line seems to divide it into two identical parts such that they are superimposed on each other. Superimposed means they exactly cover on each other and they coincide. Okay, children, the remaining part I will be continuing in the next session. Till then, bye.